A new artsy indie game on Steam? I have to rip this thing apart. Toren comes from Brazilian indie developer Swordtails, and it's their first game apparently. So, what is Toren exactly? Well, to be honest, I have no idea. I'll just show the game from start to finish, and don't worry about spoilers since the game is a grand total of 2 hours. The game is literally 2 hours long. Are indie developers only capable of making 2-hour games now? From what I know, you play as the Moonchild, destined to climb the tower and kill this dragon thing. The rest of the story is told in metaphors and symbolism, and I'm not very fond of those, so I think you know what I'm going to say next. I'm a pretty direct person, so I hate it when things are unclear and confusing on purpose while they are trying to rhyme, and it really just frustrates me, so I kind of just skip pretty much of the story. Oh, yeah, the protagonist is female, and I don't really get why people just freak out about these things. Is it really a big deal? Does there really need to be a Steam tag for this? Okay, so how does the game start? Well, you start by being stoned, of course. No, not drugs. She is literally being stoned, and she takes out a paper of some sort, and now you control as the Moonchild, as a toddler. And by this point, I'm completely lost. I have no clue what's going on. Well, anyways, the first part of the game is just getting that sword, and that sapling she plants is very important, as I'll get to later. When you get out of this room, you'll see those sweet fire effects, and learn that it's one of those stories where everything repeats and this is all a cycle. Climb a massive tower and kill a dragon? Seems like standard stuff. I do it every morning, but I don't have to read Shakespeare while doing it. The poetic storytelling is absolutely everywhere in this game, like looking through telescopes or looking at stone statues. Yeah, this game tells you the story in the most inconvenient way possible. A few minutes later, this game makes me pull out this green cloth. Wait, that's a chainmail? What kind of drugs do you need to be on to think that looks like a chainmail? Hold on, did that quote-unquote chainmail just change colors? Ever heard of consistency, guys? After a quick sighting of the dragon, you get the lid off this thing, and that sapling from earlier starts growing out from this room. See? I told you it was important. Some tree branch action later, I push this log out of the way, and oh god, that's not subtle. I think the real question is, why doesn't this kid react in any way about this? It's just more disturbing than the actual hanging itself. After that disturbing scene, the dragon shows up, and now you have to play the waiting game! You know, this game is so exciting. And here comes the first stream section of the game where I get even more confused about the story. I think this kind of tells her past, but naturally, I'm concerned more on the gameplay of this. In these dream segments, you fill these symbols on the floor with salt. I don't really know why, but this kid has so much salt. Where does she keep this kind of stuff? Of course, the gameplay of this is totally entertaining. About 10 minutes later, you finally get that sword. No, just kidding. You have to get it in a way that is totally not ripping something off. With this, there can finally be some combat, and as you will see, the combat is, well, impressive. I swear I've seen this before. Oh, they completely ripped off the final boss of Ico. I'm sure I mentioned that game before. It's not even trying to hide it or make it subtle. They just completely copied it. Moving past that totally original boss. We get into the second dream section that I came across, and guys, look what I found! This is totally not a glitch, right? This game is totally finished and not in need of patching. And also, this dream section is totally not a pain to go through. Just look how fun it is! A bit of tower climbing later, the Moonchild comes across the dragon again, and god damn it, more wind! Is this necessary? Come on, I just went through that delightful experience earlier, and I have to play more of the waiting game. What kind of game designers made this game? Eventually, you knock the dragon off the tower, and what happens after that is just disturbing. This girl has died so many times, but has no memory of it, and I just don't really know how to take it. That feeling is thrown right out of the window as I have to go through more of the waiting game with the stupid wind again! The reward for going through this is the third dream section I came across. This time, it's Mercy, and for whatever reason, there are invisible bridges between the platforms, because that's totally not been overused. Oh, and don't forget about that salt. After more tower climbing while the tree is growing taller, the Moonchild suddenly has to go through another dream section, the Abyss. This time, it's just a large walking and pouring salt in a dark simulator, and not much else. As the Moonchild wakes up, it's winter outside, and I guess this is just an excuse to use the freezing to death mechanic. In its core, you just go around the tower a bunch of times to be on the tree while it grows even taller. If you freeze to death, well, you're just plain screwed. If you die here, you'll have to experience this fun glitch where you're stuck to the ground, unable to do anything. Doesn't it sound like a blast? I had to go through it once, and I froze to death since it was so much fun. Thankfully, I actually got out the second time, so I could climb to the top of this stupid tower. Not that the climbing was interesting at all. When you get near the top, the Moonchild goes through the last dream section of the game. The Abyss, Part 2! Sort of. The Moonchild wakes up looking completely different, and now she must fight the final boss, the dragon. Such a big surprise there. And this time, some guy with a shield helps you defeat the dragon. Does the dragon come up with any new strategies to defeat you? No, are you kidding me? You have to deal with more wind and stoning. You just couldn't come up with anything new the dragon could do for the last fight. In this epic final battle, you charge towards the dragon, knocking pillars down and bashing it with all your might. Nope, it's just more of the goddamn waiting game. In reality, you slowly go towards the dragon, knocking 4 pillars down on it to slay it. Unfortunately, the bridge you're fighting on is falling apart as you go, and the guy can't jump across gaps. So you have to push in these super convenient blocks in the gap. But if you're not careful, and not constantly by the guy, the dragon can instantly stone to do, and you have to do all the stupid pushing all over again. Basically, this is the waiting game and the ultimate babysitting game at the same time. I'll show you how fun it is. God, finally! That took way too much time to do. The dragon is still alive? God damn, this stubborn. Oh, God, censor this for the children. I'm sorry you had to see that. Look at this. This is how the game ends. The Moonchild becomes the moon, and time goes back to normal for the non-existent human population. In the end, the cycle repeats, and that really made me appreciate Transistor much more for letting the main character break the cycle. You're probably thinking, there's gotta be more to this, but that's pretty much it. The gameplay developers were probably playing a ton of Ico while making this game since it feels so similar to it, but really, the gameplay is just a huge amount of chores. Not that it matters, since it's just 2 hours. Everything else, on the other hand, is actually good. The music is nice, the graphic doesn't suck that much. I'm sure the story is decent if I actually pay attention to it. It's like as if the development team for the gameplay was on the other side of the town from the rest of the development team, because it just can't be from the same studio. For the ending statement, if you like doing chores while looking outside, this will definitely be your favorite game. You have been wandering with Radiant Wanderer. See you next week.